Nobody wants this Bugatti, and that alone should tell you everything. 2 months earlier, Matt Armstrong was looking at 2 hypercar projects that could completely change his channel. One was a Ford GT sitting in Dubai. The other was a crashed Bugatti Pur Sport in Miami. On paper, both were insane, but once the details started coming out, one of them immediately became a nightmare. The Bugatti wasn't just expensive to fix. Bugatti themselves refused to sell parts for that specific chassis number. No headlights, no body panels, no structural components, nothing through any dealership. And even if parts were available, the prices were laughable. One headlight alone was quoted at $150,000. A bonnet was $50,000. A front bumper was $80,000. That's before labor. At that point, the Bugatti felt like an impossible rebuild, while the Ford GT suddenly looked like the sensible option. So the decision seemed made. Walk away from the Bugatti. But despite all of that, the Chiron still went up for sale at Copart. The day of the auction, Matt wasn't even planning on bidding. He just wanted to see what kind of person would actually buy a crashed Bugatti that even Bugatti themselves didn't want to support. The bidding climbed fast. $1 million. Then 1.2, then $1.5 million. Someone from the United Kingdom was bidding aggressively. When it hit $1.6 million, everyone watching was shocked. This was a $6 million car when new, but in this condition, with no parts support, what was it really worth? Then Copart revealed the reserve. $2 million. At 1.6, the car technically hadn't sold. It went as sold on approval. And that's when the twist landed. The buyer was Alex, the original owner. The same guy who crashed the Bugatti in the first place, after the insurance payout, after the car was written off, after it went to auction. He bought it back. Why would anyone do that? That was the first question Matt needed answered. And when Alex reached out asking if Matt would even attempt to repair it, the answer came quickly. Yes, not because it was easy, not because it made sense, but because this was something almost nobody had tried before. Rebuilding a modern Bugatti without Bugatti, no factory support, no parts catalogue, no safety net. And the craziest part, Matt wasn't risking his own money. He was being paid to do it. If it worked, it would be historic. If it failed, it would still be one of the wildest rebuild attempts ever filmed. The car was shipped to Miami, and the moment it arrived, reality hit. It looked worse than before. Panels were twisted, carbon was cracked. The front end was clearly out of alignment. This wasn't cosmetic damage pretending to be serious. This was structural. Before any tools came out, the obvious question had to be asked. Why buy it back? For Alex, the answer was simple. This wasn't just a car, it was a trophy, a symbol of achievement, something personal. Anyone who truly loves cars understands that attachment. Losing it feels like losing part of yourself. Bugatti, however, saw it very differently. When Alex contacted them to buy parts, they didn't just refuse. They wanted the car sent back to France. Originally, they quoted $1.7 million to repair it. Then came a second offer, around $600,000 to $700,000 for a full rebuild, new carbon tub, new transmission, essentially a brand new car. On the surface, it sounded too good to turn down. And that was the problem. When Bugatti reached out with an offer to buy back the crashed Chiron, they weren't just being generous. They were offering over $1 million, full support, factory expertise, everything handled professionally. But there were conditions. The car had to leave the country. It had to go back to Bugatti. And once it did, Alex would lose all control over timelines, costs, and decisions. Why discount over $1 million? Why insist the car leave the country? Why not just purchase it outright at market value? The answer seemed obvious. Brand protection. Bugatti couldn't allow a salvaged Chiron to exist in the wild, being rebuilt by independent mechanics. The precedent was too dangerous. The risk to their carefully controlled image too great. Once that car was back in Bugatti's hands, Alex would be at their mercy. Timelines would stretch, costs would balloon, and the project would no longer be his. So he refused. Which meant this rebuild would happen the hard way, the impossible way, the way no one had ever attempted before. The first test was simple, but critical. Would the car even run? Alex claimed it still drove, despite the broken radiators and front-end damage. But words are one thing. Proof is another. Key in. Ignition on. The dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. Transmission fault. Airbag fault. Low coolant warning. Check engine light glaring. The W16 engine sputtered and coughed, sounding like it was misfiring badly, and there was barely any fuel left in the tank. But the transmission told a different story. 7 separate faults that refused to clear. And the Copart listing had mentioned transmission damage that wasn't immediately obvious during the initial inspection. That problem was still lurking, waiting to reveal itself. But one crisis at a time. For now, the plan was clear. Strip everything that was damaged. Remove everything broken, bent, or compromised until only the naked truth remained. The disassembly began. Carbon fiber wiper arms came off first. Ridiculously, almost comically light. The kind of parts where one wrong move means they're gone forever. No replacements available, no second chances. Even the panels under the hood were carbon fiber. Weight saving taken to an obsessive degree. This wasn't just a fast car, this was an engineering philosophy made physical. Every single part that came off reinforced the same reality. None of this could be cross-referenced with normal parts catalogs. These were Bugatti-only components, custom spacers, precision shims. Carbon fiber isolation pieces designed for purposes only the engineers in Molsheim fully understood. The car was jacked up. The front wheel came off, and even that was absurdly light for its size. Alex had plasti-dipped them black at some point, a modification that could be addressed later, assuming the car ever made it that far. The wheel arch liners came out next, revealing the beautifully engineered suspension underneath. Ebach springs, control arms built to absurd tolerances. Everything designed for speeds most cars will never see, not ease of repair. Then came the moment of truth. The entire front-end assembly had to come off, not piece by piece, all at once. An absurd number of bolts held it together. But that's what happens when something has to survive over 200 miles per hour while managing airflow, downforce, and cooling for a 1,500 horsepower engine. With the front clamshell removed, the real damage was finally, brutally visible. The aluminum front crash structure was mangled beyond recognition, bent, twisted, deformed in ways that made it clear just how violent the impact had been. Normally, this is where you order a replacement part, ship it in, bolt it on, done. But here, that isn't an option. Bugatti doesn't sell these parts individually, and even if they did, they wouldn't sell them to Alex. And that's just at the front. There are more radiators in other parts of the car, 16 cylinders, 4 turbochargers, 1,500 horsepower. Cooling on a car like this isn't optional, it's survival. 1 degree too hot and the entire powertrain can destroy itself in seconds. Radiators can be repaired, cores can be replaced. But everything has to match factory specifications exactly. Flow rates, pressure tolerances, exact dimensions. One mistake here, and the engine doesn't just overheat, it grenades itself. As the last damaged pieces came off and were carefully set aside, the Chiron sat there stripped and exposed. And strangely, standing in front of it like this, it didn't feel quite so impossible anymore. Yes, it's extreme. Yes, it's unprecedented. Yes, rebuilding a crashed Bugatti Chiron without factory support has never been done before. But at its core, beneath all the complexity and mystique, it's still a car. A very, very complicated one, but not magic. The plan from here is brutal and unforgiving. This car will never be factory perfect, and honestly, that's fine. This isn't about pleasing Bugatti or getting their approval. This is about proving that ownership should mean ownership. That skill and determination can challenge exclusivity.